I I needed you to repeat the question because in my head I heard want to peak Tyler, and I was like, okay, so we've got Steven Tyler, we've got Liv Tyler. They're both still alive and well, so is there another Tyler that is dead and not well?
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Who Is My Doctor?
Who is my doctor?
Who is indeed. I am your host, Zach, and I know a lot about Doctor Who.
And I'm also your host, Cassie, and I don't know a lot about Doctor Who.
And today we're going back to another two-parter, our first one since the last season finale.
Oh. Oh, no.
You do get to meet the second of the Doctor's trinity of nemeses this time.
Hooray!
You've already met the Daleks.
Which we love. We
you
stan.
love the Daleks. Today you meet, as the title implies, in Rise of the Cybermen, you get to meet the Cybermen. So just so I'm clear, this is the two-parter, Rise of the Cybermen and Age of Steel. I don't know that I want to spoil much for you about them. I think it'd be more fun if I had that be part of the Cassie Profassi today.
Okie dokie.
What do you think the Cybermen's whole deal is?
As I'm running through my little mind palace, trying to summon any image, anything I know about Doctor Who, there is one type of robot that I feel like is connected to Doctor Who, but I'm not entirely sure.
Okay.
Just because there are a lot of robots in my mind palace. And I don't know where they come from. They just kind of are all in the same room staring at each other. And so I don't know if the one that I am thinking of is a Doctor Who robot, but if I am correct, I'm going to be so happy.
Okay.
It's like a coppery looking, which I know is the same thing I said about Dalek, which is not helpful, but this show tends to like to use copper.
Well, let's, maybe I don't need you to, I'm not necessarily needing you to describe their looks. I'm more just, they as a group have a goal, in the same way that Daleks have the goal of exterminating all life that is not Dalek. The Cybermen also have a goal. Do you want to take a guess as to what that goal might be?
I'd imagine that since you said that this is another nemesis of the Doctor, that perhaps their goal would be to eradicate all Time Lords.
Okay.
Just because it would be a little odd if their goal was also kill all humans. I don't think that the writers would do that twice with robots of varying size and height. Mm-hmm. Be that as it may. Well, I don't know, because if it's a two-parter and the next part is Age of Steel, then it might be not dissimilar for Mitchell's versus the Machines.
Okay.
Where it's like robots just want... It's these particular robots wanting to take over life on planets. In this case, it would be life on Earth to have a planet of their own, I suppose. So maybe that's my guess.
Okay. So by take over, you mean either conquer a planet, or eject its people from the Earth in the same way that Mitchell's versus the Machines does?
Yes.
Okay. So you think that the Cybermen's goal is to not necessarily eliminate, but to physically remove life from a planet so that it can become their own.
Yes.
Okay. We can put that as the first Cassie Profassi. And then the second one, so this episode is set on February 1st, 2006. But one Pete Tyler, Rose Tyler's father, is alive and well.
Okay.
Why do you think that might be?
I don't know, because I've gotten the past two Profassis wrong. Zach, the wind is out of my sails.
Well, you do get 4 Profassis this episode.
Yeah, but each each guess counts. I'm at a deficit now. I'm at 15 out of 32.
Yep.
That does not bode well for me. I'm failing, Zach. I'm dying.
You started off so strong, and just as we've kept going, you've hovered at this 50% mark.
I'm below the 50% mark now, Zach. I need you to throw me just a little bone. Give me something easy.
Well, there's only so many ways someone could be dead and then alive.
Yeah, it's either they go back in time, or this is an alternate Earth.
All right, well, which of those two things do you think is the truth?
No, because now I'm at another 50-50 chance, Zach. Can't I, call a friend?
Who would you call?
Can I phone a friend?
Well, you got your two. You've given two options. You can pick one of them based on your own heart. Did they go back and pick him up, or do they travel to an alternate dimension?
I don't know, because I know whichever one I pick is going to be the opposite.
As soon as you pick one, you drop into the alternate dimension where it's the other thing?
Exactly. Save scumming doesn't work in real life. I didn't know this.
This is Schrodinger's Pete.
Oh my goodness. This is Schrodinger's Tyler. He is both alive and dead in the same universe.
Schrodinger.
That sounds gross. That sounds like an ailment. Because they already went back in time once to talk to Pete.
Mm-hmm.
And so my thought is that story was shut and sealed, tied off with a nice bow. I don't think that they would simply go back in time just to relive any of that. I think that they need him for something.
Okay.
Either having to do maybe with those awful giant mosquito motherfuckers.
Well, they're not dealing with the giant mosquitoes this time. They're dealing with the Cybermen, so if that influences your feelings at all.
Well, no, because Pete was a salesman. He was an entrepreneur. He, as far as I know, doesn't have anything that would prove useful to our lovable crew aboard the TARDIS.
All right, so you're saying they wouldn't go back in time then?
No! Well, because you said it like that, they might. I'm trying to make you feel a little sorry that I'm on a losing streak.
If it makes you feel better, I will tell you it is one of the two things you've said.
Oh, okay, cool. Damn it. Can I get a half point then? Can I just write down both and get a half point? No, you won't.
I feel like because if you get a half point, that would still be you would still be relying on the other one to make up for it.
Zach, we're 10 minutes deep already and nothing's happened. I think you just have to give me the point right out the gate.
You just want to force it from me, pry it from my cold dead hand.
I'm really trying my hardest to read you right now, because that is not a skill I'm very good at.
Okay. I do have a very not a blank face necessarily, because I am smiling, but I'm also kind of stupid, Zach.
I never said you were stupid. This is something that the world needs to know. I am not the brightest bulb in the bunch. I make up for it with my cleverness and my wit and my sass.
And your sass.
And that is it. Oh my god, I hate this. I don't know, Zach. You want me to just guess?
Yes.
You want me to just say something so that way you can have that smug little shit-eating grin on your face?
I don't expect you to make an educated answer.
The entire time during the episode, because I'm mad at myself and I'm kicking my little feet out of rage, and you're just sitting there, your little Zach giggle that you do. You want me to just guess?
Yes.
See, the thing about that is I forgot what my two things were.
Your two answers were they either went back in time and picked Pete up, or they found themselves in an alternate dimension.
Universe. I'm cashing in on alternate universe.
Okay, alternate universe it is. So Cassie's guesses are the Cybermen wish to not kill all...
But that also doesn't make sense in that context. Oh! Because why would there be an alternate universe if in my narrative, if in my flow, the Cybermen want to take over? Ugh. But then why would they have to go back in time and get Pete? Fuck it. I'm wrong. It's the alternate universe.
All right. It's an alternate universe, and the Cybermen wish...
No, try to make sense of what I'm saying. Just accept them as two separate things.
Yeah, these two separate thoughts. Yeah. So the Cassie Profassi is this takes place in an alternate universe, and the Cybermen's whole deal is they wish to remove but not necessarily exterminate life in order to conquer a planet. I think those will be the two guesses that she has for this episode. We will find out if those are correct after we watch Rise of the Cybermen.
Yeah, fuck you, Zach. Preemptive, fuck you.
I love you too. This episode of Who Is My Doctor is brought to you by... hang on. I know I must have put the ad somewhere. I mean, it would be really stupid to not have an ad. I mean, how are we supposed to put food on the table if we don't have an ad? Oh God. Oh no. Buy gold. And we are back between the episodes here, following Rise of the Cybermen.
Hey, Zach.
Yes?
These guys?
Mm-hmm.
These are not little guys.
These are not little guys. No, these are big boys.
Oh, these are scary guys.
That they are. I think more people, at least the American side of this, might know the Borg from Star Trek. The Borg was ripped off from the Cybermen. They are, whereas the Daleks are about extermination, the Cybermen are about assimilation.
About deletion. Very different from extermination.
Well, deletion is more their second resort. Their primary goal is to make everything Cyberman.
Uh-huh.
Yes, so they are not necessarily... That is why they're talking at the end here about compulsory upgrades. Everyone must be upgraded into Cyberman. That is the Cyberman's whole deal.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And I know that we'll touch up on this at the back half, but it also does have very strong... Not the Cybermen necessarily, but just this particular world has very strong Fahrenheit 451 energy. Specifically with their little ear pods, which I wrote down as seashells. Because have you read Fahrenheit 451?
I have not.
Effectively, in that book, like, there are only a handful of people that have not completely given in to the I don't want to call them an all-powerful being because it's not. There isn't like an antagonist. Society is kind of the antagonist, and there is a trend of like people get these what they refer to as seashells, and they put them in their ear, and that's where they get the news and where they get all current events. Mm-hmm. Mind you, this book was written, I believe, in the 50s, so any sort of AirPod or wireless device connected to a mini computer did not exist, nor was not something that was really even like in any kind of zeitgeist quite yet. But these particular earpods reminded me exactly of that, and so there is quite a fervent Fahrenheit 451 vibe already, which is kind of cool because that story fucked me up as a kid. I read that in the 5th grade.
There is also something kind of funny about them being called earpods, and then today we have Apple's AirPods, which are not exactly the same, but they...
Yeah, because ours are much smaller.
They at least serve a similar visual function.
And similar to the seashells, they also give you the news. You can tune in to as far away as Venezuela. Why you need to tune in to news in Venezuela, you won't know until you do it.
So it's worth noting that this is not... I mean, I feel it's pretty obvious. This is not the original origin story for the Cybermen.
I could figure that. This felt like a reskinning of...
Yes, they're sort of a way to reintroduce them in a way that, I don't want to say makes more sense, but in a way that helps people understand them without having to dig up all their old stuff. Because the original Cybermen showed up in the first Doctor's very last story. It was called the 10th Planet, because back then we still considered Pluto a planet. So a 10th planet showed up in the solar system.
It still is a planet, Zach. What are you even talking about?
A 10th planet showed up in our solar system, and it was populated by the people of Mondas. The thing with them is that they had undergone such extensive surgery that they were sort of ship of Theseusing themselves. Like, what part of them left was man, what part of them was robot, and so they're Cybermen, is what they've become. And the original design for them is... Like, you think these guys are terrifying? I think the original design is haunting. Because they didn't have, like, the rigid metallic robot structure in yet.
I want to look it up.
Yeah, look up original Cybermen. They almost look like they were wrapped in, like, medical gauze.
Ew.
And just had, like, blank eyes. And because over time, as the footage for that episode has had to get in...
Ew, what the fuck?
Right?
No, ew.
And they sounded...
Zach, this is scary. Why'd you tell me to look at this up?
I didn't tell you to look this up.
This one looks like it's holding an air conditioning unit.
Yeah, that's the other thing about them is that, they have, because they're patients, they have medical equipment attached to them.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, right?
I hate this.
And they didn't talk quite right. Like, they still had mouths then. But I believe
their freaking mouths moved.
Yeah, but they didn't move like they were talking. They just sort of like slowly vibrated up and down. And I believe after the fact they had someone dub in the line for them afterwards. So they're just going with their mouth.
I hate that so much.
Oh yeah, it's terrifying. But it's one of the things that's kind of even weirder about it as time has gone on, because that original episode has had to be upgraded from the original videotape into DVD and now into Blu-ray. As the quality has increased, they've only gotten more terrifying because you can start seeing the details of the people under the costumes.
No!
So it's only more obvious that the Cybermen are like people that have been experimented on, and it's haunting.
I hate that. I hate that so much. If for no other reason than, fun fact about me, I'm legitimately scared of mummies. I think they're fascinating and beautiful, and just, what a weird time for people to mummify their beloved, to cross over into the afterlife. However, when I was a small girl, my brother was really into watching The Mummy, much to my dismay. And so I developed an irrational fear for the undead coming back to life. And so anything that vaguely resembles that, like undead being reborn, already scary. But when you plug that into sci-fi, where literally anything is fucking possible, that is a big note for me. I do not like these. Yeah. I will take my cute little pepper pot Dalek any day. Cause at least I know I can kind of take that one.
You could kind of take that one?
Yeah, well, I mean, if nothing else, I would die laughing, which I can live with.
I will also, just to dip back into the Cassie Profassi here real quick.
Yeah.
You were definitely correct on the alternate Earth.
I would argue I was correct on the first.
And the other one, you said that they tried to take over the planet, but not via death. You'd said they tried to remove them from the planet. I will still accept it on the main. The core of it is still correct that they do try to take over various worlds, but do not try to kill the people there. They try to assimilate the people there.
See, I would never have guessed assimilation because I did not think that would ever be a possibility.
Yes.
Foolish I was.
The Borg from Star Trek straight up ripped off the Cybermen in many ways. So let's do a couple other little Cassie Profassies here and see if we can get you... See if we can get you back up to the race right now, because right now you're at 17 out of 34, so you're back to 50-50. Let's see if we can get you over that. And since you seemed a little bothered by how the the Profassi from the first episode went here, I'm going to make these other two. I'm going to give you two choices for each one, and so you can just pick one of the two to make it a slightly more educated guess for you.
Thank you.
The first one is, you've met John Lumick, the creator of this universe of Cybermen.
Which also, just quick little timeout. What's with him? Is he like a Dr. Xavier, Frankenstein? Is that is that his vibe?
He crafted the Cybermen because he is dying, and so he's trying to find a way to extend human life so he can extend his own.
So not at all X-Men-y.
No, I would not say X-Men.
Well then.
He's just in a wheelchair.
Yeah, and he's smart and bald.
The three things that define superhero Charles Xavier.
Yeah.
Wheelchair, bald, and smart.
Yeah.
Definitely good or evil is irrelevant.
Nah.
I don't know if you remember his face, but he was who played Barty Crouch Sr. in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Yeah, so they've flipped here, whereas before Barty Crouch Sr. was the good guy and Junior was the bad guy. Junior, played by David Tennant. David Tennant is now the good guy, and Roger Lloyd Pack is the bad guy.
I've been sitting here scratching my little noggin trying to figure out what I knew him from.
Yep, he is Barty Crouch Sr.
Hello, father.
So, how do you think his part of this story resolves? He either A, is killed by his creations, or 2, is assimilated by his creations into becoming the leader of the Cybermen.
Interesting. I am going to say that he is B, assimilated.
He's assimilated?
Yeah.
Okay. So...
Well, because if that's his whole deal is that he's dying and wants to extend his life, I mean, that makes the most sense, but also narratively speaking, it's also rather satisfying to see his own creation say, you're not worthy.
Yeah, so I will specify, but in both of these scenarios, it is not done willingly. In both I'm giving you, he's either killed unwillingly or he is assimilated unwillingly.
I'm going to go with assimilation still.
So with assimilation. And the second one is, Mickey does not continue as a TARDIS companion after this episode. So I will let you decide between, is he killed by the Cybermen? Does he choose to stay in this parallel world? Or does he choose to go back to his regular world fed up with the Doctor and Rose?
I am going to say that something happens to Ricky, and so Mickey decides that he is going to stay here and be with his grandmother.
Alrighty. So we have so the decisions for Cassie are John Lumick gets assimilated and Mickey takes over the life of Ricky. And we will find out together if that is correct here on the next episode, The Age of Steel. And we are back from The Age of Steel. Cassie, you didn't seem to enjoy the Cybermen all that much.
No, I did not.
At least here it's in a way that you're not supposed to like them versus the Slovene, where you didn't like them because they were big dumpy diaper babies.
I did not like the Slovene one bit. Because they were just very dumpy. These Cybermen were very scary. very scary in a way that is very much like I can legitimately see this happening.
Yeah, there's something very human about the desire to keep oneself alive.
And it truly is the fact that the way that you defeat them is by turning on their, like, emotions, basically.
Yeah.
So that way they become self-aware.
Yeah, they can see what they've become and just lose it.
Basically fall into an existential panic, which, to be fair, that is also how I start most of my freak out sessions, is by realizing that I am just a bundle of nerves and a brain operating inside of a meat suit. And that truly can sometimes really send me into a tailspin. So it does make sense that that is how you would take out cyborgs effectively, is by making them remember what they were.
Well,
and letting them know that they will not be returning to their god.
Well, speaking of existential crises, your bit of the Cassie Prophecy today has you're on 4 for 4 today.
Good.
So that means you were at, I think you were, or where were you before? You were at 15 out of 32.
Yeah, so now I'm at 19 out of 36.
So that means that you're now slightly above 50%, unlike before. So we're on a real roller coaster ride with you here now.
Now, to be fair, you didn't not spoon feed me some of those, but hey, a win is a win.
Yeah, I felt like you needed it, especially with how the first half of it was really seeming to get to you.
Thank you.
I didn't want to but I don't feel like I gave it to you. I did give you choices, so I just let your guess be a little more educated more than anything else. I think that's a good way of putting it. So yes, this episode was about the TARDIS falling through a crack in time and landing in a parallel Earth where there are zeppelins that fly everywhere. That is the way the rich get around. There are ear pods in every ear that feed everybody the news and a daily joke. And they turn you into robots.
Well, they have the capacity to turn you into robots, only if you are of good stock.
Only if you are of good stock. And on this parallel Earth, there is an alive Pete Tyler, still married to Jackie Tyler, but instead of having a daughter named Rose, they have a dog named Rose.
Which, I like that. It only makes Rose's need and desire to basically save her parents that much stronger, because they don't have anybody that they can compare her to other than the one not throwaway line, but at one point Pete Tyler does say oh great, your name is Rose, just like my dog.
Well, there is also something nice about knowing that even on other worlds, they still like the name Rose.
Yeah.
And so they give it to the creature they put into their care. Although, Jackie Tyler on this Earth sucks.
Jackie Tyler on, I suppose we'll call it Earth 2.
If you want to know, fans call it Pete's World.
Pete's World?
Like Disney World, but with robots of death.
This Jackie just seemed way more... nothing has forced her down a couple pegs.
Yeah. She's gotten everything she wanted, and as such, she is now a spoiled brat.
A 39-year-old spoiled brat.
A 39-year-old, 40-year-old spoiled brat.
Nah, just 39.
40! It says 40!
You are 40.
I don't want the whole world telling, do I?
You're having a party tonight.
My 39th. My official biography says I was born on the same day as Cuba Gooding Jr., and that makes me 39, thank you very much.
There's a part of me that feels like that joke's a little played out. No one needs to know that I'm 40. Tell them I'm younger than I am.
I mean, to be fair, I do that with my younger coworkers, where I tell them I'm between my mid to late 20s, and that is all you need to know. And it's not because I'm ashamed of my age. I legitimately forget how old I am sometimes. So it is just easier for me to tell people that I am a 20-something-year-old teen. It's just easier. I did notice something. What is it with billionaires just killing whoever disagrees with them? Because it happened again in this one where... what's his nuts?
Oh, John Lumick.
John Lumick is, he's perfecting his technology, and his his assistant says like, oh, we need to get these approved by Geneva. And he goes, no, we don't. And he goes,
but what if I didn't?
Yeah, and he goes, well, you really should. And he goes, how about...
And how will you do that from beyond the grave?
What is it with the rich killing off people that are just trying to talk some sense?
I think sci-fi writers just know that when you reach a certain amount of money, you sort of stop being a person.
This isn't even sci-fi writers, though, because we fucking saw it with Ocean Gate and all of the scientists around that motherfucker.
I mean, they understood that in real life, what happens to rich people when they get rich enough is they lose their humanity.
So that they just become not humans. They become robot. But I did also like that in the first part of this two-parter, we got both some more Time Lord lore as well as Mickey lore.
Which one do you want to talk about first?
The Time Lord lore.
Okay.
That's all I had to say. Well, no, because he was talking about how the reason why they aren't able to easily jump through space, time, and parallel universes is because at one point, when there were Time Lords, you could very easily do that. But when all of them died, those worlds and those pathways had to be sealed off.
Yes. Basically, the Time Lords are sort of the bureaucracy over space and time. They are the thing that allows people to move along the machine in new ways. So if they want to travel to other worlds, they can see those, and they can come back in a way that's safe. They were custodians over time and space. And without them, the Doctor is the lone Time Lord, and he's certainly not going to do all that work. He's got adventuring to do.
He's got ladies to woo. I liked that we got to see a little bit of that. And then we also had a nice moment of Rose telling the Doctor about Mickey and about his grandmother and how she died because of... She, fell down the stairs, and the Doctor comments that, why didn't he say any of this? And she responds, you didn't ask.
And he goes, you never said. Which I do think is, obviously the Doctor doesn't treat Rose and Mickey or doesn't treat Mickey fairly in comparison to Rose. But there is a certain truth to, if you don't queue up a conversation, how do you even think to ask about it?
Oh, by the way, let's sit down and talk about my dead grandmother.
Hey, Mickey, got any dead relatives you want to talk about?
Hey, Doctor, since we're not friends, I feel that I need to tell you all about my trauma.
When you say you're the Doctor, are you like a therapist?
But in, kind of in that same valley, we do eventually get a very good actor moment from Mickey when he does reunite with his not dead in this world grandmother.
Yes. Not dead, but very blind.
And that's fine.
Yeah, it's just... one nice little touch is Mickey looks over her shoulder and sees that the stairs, the carpet on the stairs is torn, just like it was when that same carpet caused her to fall down the stairs.
He has regret. He says something along the lines of...
You got time?
For you, I've got all the time in the world.
Oh, you say that, but it's all talk.
And that's just really the icing on the cake for me.
I did like when the grandma's like, your friends, the friends that you know about, the friends that you know about that come around in vans and pick people up in the vans. Always, that's where you're always hanging out doing, and then all of a sudden, like, as if on cue, a van pulls up, picks him up, and drives off with him.
Yeah.
And as he's pulled into the van, he meets the preachers. Preachers including Jake and Mrs. Moore, as well as his parallel self, Ricky, which I thought was a fun callback to the fact that Christopher Eccleston's doctor kept calling him Ricky. Now they're on a world where he really is, and Ricky doesn't like being called Mickey.
Yeah, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Mickey didn't really like getting called Ricky. And Ricky does not like Mickey, despite them being identical. Which is also hilarious to me.
Well, it's just because Ricky's so intense. Like, he's like, I'm the leader here. I'm the most wanted man in London.
Which there is something to be said of, it's very nice then that you got to see these two very different sides. It was a little bit of like a, like He Who Remains and Richard Timely, where it was like, this is the same guy, but they could not be more different. And they even did a very good job, like, with their, like, screen splitting.
Yeah, it was pretty consistently. It was very well planned every time.
The only time I noticed any sort of hiccup is there is a moment where I think it's Ricky is crossing in front of a light that is hitting Mickey's face, and the light does not block out ever.
Yeah.
But it's also a TV show with TV show budget. The fact that it was as consistent and as smooth as it was, it's fine.
I will say that in terms of, like, the planning for this, the director for this two-parter is a man named Graham Harper. And Graham Harper is the first director we've had come back from the classic series.
Okay.
He directed one of the last Fifth Doctor story. He directed the Fifth Doctor story, The Caves of Androzani, which is one of the most beloved episodes of the classic series. He's also known to be very different from other directors that work on the show, because while most directors in television in general work behind a monitor so they could see what's on the frame and direct from what they're seeing in camera, Graham prefers to just let the cinematographer handle what's in frame, and he'll work with the actors on set instead.
I mean, that's kind of a director's job.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's really...
It's a... Granted, that I feel like does come from a more theatrical background of...
Yes.
Directors are meant to direct actors, and cinematographers are meant to direct what the audience is seeing.
Yes, there's a certain level of, like, comfort that Graham brought, especially because the actors in general also prefer that method because it feels more personal. It takes them out of the mind of working in camera. In fact, Peter Davison had joked that he would have stayed in the show longer if Graham Harper was directing more episodes, because he enjoyed working with him on The Caves of Androzani so much. But yeah, this is the first time we've had a classic director come back, so he is one of the longest working directors in Doctor Who. I just think that's neat.
Does he come back to do any other episodes?
He does indeed. He does come back to do... I know he does several over the course of Russell T Davies' run. I don't know that he comes back after that.
Okay.
Meanwhile, as Mickey is meeting Ricky, the Doctor's digging into Pete Tyler discovers that he is close to John Lumick of Cybus Industries, the manufacturer of the ear pods and seemingly the controller of all tech.
Which also, there's a moment... where Mr. Finch, one of his other, like, associates, is talking to him about, like, the experiments and showcasing the derelicts that he picked up off the street. And when he sends them back to get transformed, they go, ugh, like, we cover up this heinous sound. And they put on The Lion Sleeps Tonight, which anytime... That's one of my favorite tropes now, is something horrible happening with a bop in the background, a la Zombie Apocalypse with ABBA playing.
Yeah.
That is...
It's also just really funny, just like... What do we have queued up already in the playlist? Like at the playlist of our mad science building.
Track 19, which means that there has to have been at least 20 other songs.
Yeah.
I need to know what those 20 other, or those like other 19 songs would be.
Investigating Cyber's industry, they decide the best thing they can do is check up on Pete Tyler, who is at Jackie Tyler's 40th/39th birthday party.
Sorry, I'm still just thinking about what other songs would be on their playlist.
And they sneak around as waitstaff, which I wonder if someone just did that to get David Tennant in a tux.
Hooked on a Feeling, I think, is definitely one of them.
Just the entire... It's just the awesome mixes. Just the various Guardians of the Galaxy soundtracks.
No.
The Pina Colada song.
Maybe. There's like one Beatles song just because they're in the UK.
That's how that works. Everybody in the UK likes the Beatles.
Or U2. Depends on where you are.
And then the Cybermen crash that party.
Literally crash the party, though. They break a window.
Yeah, they bust in through the... Like, kick through a window. And just start invading and telling the president of Britain that everyone is now going to get a free upgrade that's compulsory. Which also feels very appropriate for technology, because I feel like my phone tells me the same shit every week.
I mean, it's also that's also the same energy that comes in, like in the Haunted Mansion. The very last words of the song is, we have some rules. Wait, hold on. If you would like to join, or something's free, we have some rules that are compulsory. You must pay the token free. Rest in peace eternally. So hurry back if you would like your company. That was a very poorly ramshackled iteration of the Haunted Mansion.
Man, you sound like you were on some downers with that one.
Hey, I'm a little sleepy. It is my bedtime.
Well, let's try and wrap this up then. So the Doctor, Rose, and Pete are running away from the Cybermen, while Jackie is running somewhere else in the house. It appeared to be the basement.
She Count of Amontillado herself.
A little bit. And
hey, I said it right this time, because usually it comes out as Count as Armadillo. So points for me, everyone.
More points for Cassie. Not to the Cassie Profassi, but just points in life.
Yeah, I said Amontillado, not Armadillo.
And as the Doctor, Rose, and Pete are running through the yard, they bump into the preachers and Mickey again, and they all clump together right before our 2-episode break here, when the Doctor is basically offering surrender, and the Cybermen are like, "Nah, you guys are weird. We're gonna delete you now."
Now, before that happens, though, I am starting to catch on to something.
What's that?
And I'm gonna put in another early Profassi. Because Rose says something to the effect of, they've got each other and my mom's got no one. Mm-hmm. Talking specifically about Pete and Jackie in this universe. I'm kind of starting to see and believe that Rose might stay behind, or the reason Rose departs from the Doctor is for her mom's sake. Because I think a while ago I said it was for Mickey, but because he's staying in... Oh, spoilers... stays at the end of the second episode. But I am cashing in on an early Profassi that Rose stays behind for her mom, because her mom doesn't have anybody, especially now. She doesn't even have Mickey to rely on and commiserate with.
Yeah.
So, you heard it here first, folks.
So obviously they were yelling that they would not accept surrender. They would just delete them. And then the Doctor turns the sonic screwdriver into a gun. Not
a gun. He turns it into a literal death ray.
Yeah, I'm sure it was just like it only worked on Cybermen or something. But wow, did that feel out of place for the sonic screwdriver?
Well, particularly since I think it was Captain Jack had commented on, or because he had something very similar.
Yeah, he had a sonic gun.
Yeah, and the Doctor pulls out his screwdriver, And they have banter about that.
Yeah, they joke that the sonic screwdriver is only good for assembling a cabinet.
How do you think that maybe the Doctor enhanced the screwdriver after this conversation with Captain Jack?
It's certainly possible. I choose to believe we were just getting a visual cue of the sonic screwdriver messing with their insides. That is what I choose to believe, because I do think making the sonic screwdriver into a gun is just kind of dumb.
Death ray, because it doesn't have any kind of recoil. It's not a gun. He's not shooting anything.
In like a laser gun situation. That's kind of what I'm getting at. I feel like it's just better if it's doing something that's not actually a weapon, because otherwise it defeats the purpose of having a sonic screwdriver. And also, just knowing that David Tennant's Doctor in particular is a huge stickler for guns. We haven't really gotten to that episode yet, but there's an episode where he's a real stickler about guns, and so it just feels a little weird coming from him.
Well, I haven't seen that episode yet, Nick.
Yeah,
so
I was sort of speaking out of turn, and I realized we're recording this, so I had to be clear what I was saying.
I will also say something that I think is funny.
What's that?
Is completely unrelated to either of our tangents. The Cybermen just play a really deadly game of tag.
In a sense, yeah.
Because it's that you can't be electrocuted unless they're actually touching you. And so it is kind of funny to just watch people running in fear as these big old metal dweebs are chasing after them.
They are almost like slasher villains, just without the slashing. Like as soon as like
they don't have the slashing, they do have the flashing.
But they have the same thing as like Michael Myers. If he walks very slow, but when he catches up to you, you're dead. So Lumic then begins the upgrade of London,
Yeah.
which I really enjoy how unhinged Roger Lloyd Pack sounds the whole episode.
Mark this day, Dr. Kendrick. We are blessed. The world below can party. Some of us have work to do. My everlasting children, tell me, how does it feel?
I know, I did write down in one of my earlier notes, is that just how he sounds, or is he specifically putting on an affect?
I believe he's putting on an affect, because
Okay.
I don't remember him sounding that way as Barty Crouch Sr.
No.
I think he is, I know he was specifically modeling himself after Donald Rumsfeld from the Bush administration.
Interesting.
So there's a part of me that feels like maybe that's what he's doing. I don't know if he's doing specifically a Donald Rumsfeld impersonation, but I do think that he is going for that idea of a guy that has so much power that he feels like he can just kind of do and say anything, even if some of it's the most horrifying shit imaginable. And I don't mind saying anything about this about Donald Rumsfeld, because one, he sucks, and two, he's dead.
God, Zach, you're making fun of the dead? R.I.P. Feel better.
And as the Cybermen start rounding up everyone using the ear pods to rope them in, or the Cybermen would just chase anybody that wasn't coming in,
Yeah.
they start chasing down Mickey and Ricky, and Ricky dies.
Ricky die.
Yeah, Ricky
go bye-bye.
Mickey climbs over a fence, and Ricky can't quite do it in time. And he gets a zappy zap from a grabby hand.
Yeah, he gets tagged.
You are it. Meanwhile, one of Lumic's henchmen, his ear pods zap him in the head, and he goes, "Oh no, you don't!" And he rips him out just so he can march into Lumic's office, I guess.
I think that was also Mr. Finch.
I
think that's his name.
It might be. Sorry, I thought you were trying to give me. I thought you were doing like Filch from Harry Potter.
No, I think his name is Finch.
Yeah. He comes in and he's like, "I offer to be upgraded," and by offer to be upgraded, I mean I'm gonna unplug all your shit.
Yeah.
Just starts like wriggling around him and pulling off every cord he can.
All of his pretty little green tubes.
Hey, he's not gonna get any more ecto cooler.
Whatever is supposed to be in that tube. That's not safe. That's not FDA approved.
And the Cybermen kill Finch and carry Lumic off to be upgraded.
Against his will.
Against his will. He wasn't ready. He didn't want to be upgraded until it was his last breath. And so the Cybermen said, "You will simply stop breathing."
Which, like, dude, your life support system's been ripped out of your back. You are dying.
Yep.
You are reaching your last breath, my guy.
One thing worth mentioning, since I keep doing this Cyberman voice, you did say that the Cyberman voice also scratches your brain in the same way the Daleks do.
Not as good as Dalek.
Well, the funny thing is they're both voiced by the same guy.
I kind of assumed, because there was a similar ishness to it.
Yeah, they're both voiced by Nicholas Briggs, just with slightly different vocal modifiers. He's played them both in the new series, obviously, and he played them in some Big Finish audio dramas that I'd mentioned a couple episodes back. So this is
Nicholas Briggs. I love him.
He seems like a good dude from what I've heard.
Awesome. We love a good dude.
Mickey catches up with the rest of the crew, and Jake is immediately pretty horrified that Mickey is the one that survived and not Ricky. And specifically the way that Jake is, like, really upset. I almost wonder if there was a draft where Jake and Ricky were like partners, like romantic partners.
I mean, there's a very good possibility of that, particularly since this isn't apocalypse end times, but their little ragtag team of outsiders definitely have that same energy.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, and there's no way that it could have been influenced by it, but their dynamic was a little bit Bubblegum and Marceline.
Yeah.
Particularly, I guess, a little spoilies. Wee woo, spoiler alert. In the new Fiona and Cake series, you see a very different iteration of Bubblegum and Marceline that are way more straight-laced and way more, like, hard, which in this instance did feel very much like a James and Mickey.
Jake and Mickey.
Jake and Mickey.
Jake and Ricky would have been the...
Jake and Ricky.
Well, the crew all decide to come... The TARDIS crew and the Preachers come together, and they decide they're going to take on Lumix Factory. So Rose and Pete go off to try and find Jackie. The Doctor and... I blanked on her name again.
Angela Price.
I was trying to think of her fake name.
Angela Price. Mrs. Moore.
Yes, Mrs. Moore. The Doctor and Mrs. Moore go underground to try and find... to try and attack it from under, going through the cooling vents. And Jake and Mickey go up top to the balloon to try and break the transmitter to the earpods. As they're going through, Pete and Rose find Jackie.
Mm-hmm. They sure do find Jackie.
She is already turned into a Cyberman. And I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of horrifying. Like, that part gets me every time a little bit.
Well, particularly since in that particular scenario, they're banking on her still being alive if she wasn't already dead. And so I think that they were either hoping, like, oh no, she's not here at all. She must have been killed. I don't think either of them put the possibility of she's already been turned into a Cyberman.
Yeah, or if they had, they would have just been like, we can't find her, she's got to be somewhere, or we can just assume that she's gone. Not, she's going to approach you and talk to you in the most emotionless voice you have ever heard.
That is not hers anymore.
Yes. Unlike who the Doctor and Mrs. Moore run into, one Sally Phelan, Mrs. Moore throws an electromagnetic bomb at one of the Cybermen, and that shuts off the suit and kills the emotional inhibitor. And the woman trapped in that suit just starts talking.
Why so cold?
Can you remember your name?
Certainly Phelan.
You're a woman.
Where's Gareth?
Who's Gareth?
He can't see me. It's unlucky the night before.
she starts saying that she's cold, that she's so cold. And then I went, uh-oh, am I feeling bad? Am I feeling bad for these scary, scary robots? Why are her nerves made of slime? Why is she so cold? Oh no, this poor lady. This poor has-been woman is making me sad.
And I think there's something... I do think it was a smart choice to have both of the like people that reveal themselves from within the suit are both women, while the Cybermen have male-presenting voices. Because there's something about it that is really jarring about it to remind you that these aren't just soldiers or robots. They are people that are put in here and stripped of their humanity.
Well, that, and it's also like... It's a very common stereotype, but women are more sensitive than men. And so if you're trying to emphasize feelings or sensitivity, having those feelings and sensitivity come through the like woman brains trapped in these male presenting...
Them there lady brains up in them cyber parts.
Yeah, there you go. There's a part of me that's like, it from a storytelling perspective, it makes sense, I suppose. The feminist in me is very upset because men are sensitive too.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't think it's... in my opinion, I don't think it's necessarily about them being emotional as much as it is about, like, their voices don't sound like who they're supposed to be. And so I think it's that sort of, like, disconnect that helps your brain remember what's going on. But the Cybermen then find all the groups. They kill Mrs. Moore, who we discovered was actually named Angela Price. The Doctor, Rose, and Pete are all taken up to another office area where we find out what happened to John Lumick. He got turned into the Cyber Controller.
In a bigger wheelchair.
Yeah, it's... that feels a little weird. Then he was put in just a big wheelchair.
Because you tried calling it a throne, but...
I'm sure that's what they called it in the script, that he's in a throne, but it does feel weird that he's just still in a wheelchair. I did like that he kept his voice, though. It was still Roger Lloyd Pack's voice.
But it did have the same modulator.
Yes, so there was something about it that was kind of fun. Did you catch that this one had an exposed brain?
Yeah, of course I did. And his eyes lit up.
Oh, I didn't put together that the eyes were different.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun.
Yeah, because everybody else had just...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, very up close, you could see that it was just like a mesh screen and their eyes are black. But Lumick's robot body was one of the only ones that had like LEDs in
he had like a little
sockets.
diamond of lights. I did catch that. My brain just forgot it for a moment.
No, you can say that you forgot it. Or you didn't catch it. That's fine. You don't have to be right all the time, Zach.
And meanwhile, Mickey and Jake have climbed their way onto a blimp where they find an empty Cyberman that is still just functioning as a robot. And that robot punches the transmitter in the fight and frees all the people. Which is that's very silly. There's just a big box basically marked transmitter device, do not punch.
Hey, you know what? It serves its purpose as because it's not a Deus Ex Machina, but it kind of is. They don't have to search very long to shut off the transmitter. It's just there.
Yeah. And then the Doctor also seems to just kind of get away with talking a lot to the Cybermen.
Well, what I love is that it's the minute that he says, like, men, women, children, even an idiot can do it. And then he kind of turns to the camera, to which then Mickey goes, hey,
I'm an idiot.
I'm the idiot.
I do enjoy how, like, I think the Doctor, like, jims the camera 3 different times to look at Mickey.
Yeah.
Because they try to direct Mickey to find the code that will turn off the emotional inhibitors.
Yeah, like the kill code.
Yes. And so they do some back and forth for a little bit while the Doctor basically kills time and gives Mickey, like, secret messages so they can get the code from them. And that code makes all of them lose their, like, all the Cybermen just lose their minds. They start crying and screaming and running around. And
one of them has their head completely explode off their body.
Yeah. God, that was so funny. Especially because that one just, like, stands there for a minute, and you almost want the head to, like, just start turning red for a minute. Just like as a cartoon character that just ate something too spicy. One of my favorite moments during this conversation the Doctor has with the cyber controller is the cyber controller says that he has factories on 7 continents. Which I want to know why you have factories in Antarctica. I don't think you need cyber penguins.
I mean, you can that's where all the, like, extras are.
Bring me a cyber polar bear.
Bring me cyber harbor seal, leopard seal.
Cyber seal.
Cyber
R.
Cyber narwhal. Unicorn of the sea.
But they succeed in destroying all of the Cybermen, and so the cyber controller has to get up out of his chair, and he rips all of his cords out of his chest very dramatically before running up to try and catch them. And they escape in a balloon.
This is not the first time that Rose has been dangling off of a Zeppelin.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is now twice that Rose has had to hang outside of a airborne blimp as she dangles from the bottom. At least this time she was on a ladder and not a rope, but still.
The cyber controller catches up with him and starts trying to climb up that ladder onto the blimp. And the Doctor throws Pete the sonic screwdriver because the sonic screwdriver can break rope. And we get this wonderful, like, dramatic fall of the cyber controller as it falls backwards into the flames.
You know how they always have, like, cool guys don't look at explosions?
Yeah.
Cool guys definitely don't fall into explosions. Ass first into into a decimated building.
But lame robots, they can definitely fall into.
Well, because they're not cool guys.
Afterwards, they all meet back at the TARDIS. Rose sort of spills the beans a little bit to Pete about her being his daughter from another dimension, and Pete's was not an emotional state for that at all.
No,
which I don't blame him.
His wife just died.
His wife died the worst death imaginable. She got converted into a robot and then was immediately driven insane.
On her birthday.
On her 39th birthday. And Mickey decides he's going to fill in for Ricky to spend time with his grandma and help liberate the world from Cybermen.
Which I think is really sweet because as far as his grandma's concerned, Ricky is not dead. And so there's a part of me that believes that Mickey does not want this version of his grandma to grieve his loss.
Yeah, not in the same way that he had to grieve hers.
No, which is really sweet and also very sad because, like, the entire episode people are making him feel like he's useless and forgettable. And so it is a little sad and tragic, I suppose, that the way that he sees himself off is by staying behind in a world that he exists but he won't exist in.
Yeah.
There is no records of Ricky, whatever his last name is, or Mickey, whatever his last name is.
Smith.
Mickey Smith. Mick Smith. And
There-
there is a part that's like, he's making this decision for himself, which is awesome. And you know, it's better that he's doing this on his own free will. He did not get pushed out of the TARDIS. He is not getting left behind on purpose.
Yeah. It also, there's a part of me that's a little disappointed that he only really got 2 proper trips in the TARDIS.
Yeah.
He got 1 trip in the last episode, and he got this one, and then he decided to call it quits. Which is just like, I feel like he deserved better. I thought the actor did a much better job.
Well, yes, but also Mickey does the same thing in this episode that he does in every other fucking episode.
Yeah.
Where he makes Rose basically choose between him and the Doctor.
Yeah.
And then gets all butthurt when she chooses the Doctor. But this time, it's Mickey making the Doctor choose between him and Rose.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of fucked up.
Yeah, and it's just I'm glad Mickey's in a place now where he cannot deal, where he can't just like sit around waiting for Rose and the Doctor to show up anymore. He's not going to just spin his wheels for that, because as far as he's aware, the Doctor can't come back. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that Mickey has now had some kind of actual firm character growth that will have to stick.
And at the very least, this does feel like closure.
Yeah.
Like, he and Rose are definitely done. Mm-hmm. And he can't even run to that world's version of Rose.
Because that's a dog.
Because that's a Yorkie.
I mean, they also had a nice, proper breakover where Mickey's like, we had something a long time ago and we don't anymore.
Yeah.
Which I think there's a really mature way of approaching that, which is just like, we are not, like, it's not that we don't care about one another. We just don't, we're not a romantic partnership anymore. I think that's just very mature.
Yeah. It's mature in a way that you also often don't see on television.
Yeah.
Because it's usually, the excuses are usually, we've grown apart, we just need to take a break, or there's someone else. Very rarely is it, we've grown apart, like, we're still friends, we'll always be friends, I'll always still love you. And we had something that just isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's so adult.
Yeah.
How mature.
But we're back to just the Doctor and Rose in the TARDIS again. Gender balance is restored. So we'll see. We'll have to see how this partnership keeps going next time. But just as a quick thought, how do the Cybermen compare to the Daleks?
We've been over this, Zach. Daleks are little guys. I will always love a little guy. I'm a little guy advocate. Big scary robot guy? Do not like. Like, I sent you a picture today of a Dalek teapot. I want that. If there was a, like, Cyberman lunchbox where their little head handle is the handle, no thank you, that's scary, I'll pass.
Well, you now know two of the three big in the trinity of Doctor Who villains. You seem to have very strong emotional reactions to both of them. You don't necessarily want to collect the Cybermen, but you at least seem to respect their menace.
I don't want anything to do with them. They can fuck right off.
And you certainly like them little Dalek boys.
Oh my god, I love them.
Well, we'll have to see which one comes back first as we get into the next episodes of Doctor Who here. So we'll all see you guys next time on the next episode of Who Is My Doctor?
Who is my doctor?
Who is indeed.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
You will now subscribe to this podcast. It is compulsory.
Or, more accurately, I would just really appreciate it. I would also appreciate you giving this podcast a thumbs up, or 5 stars, or sharing it with your fellow Whovians. You can follow us on Twitter, Blue Sky Threads, or Instagram at WimDpod. That's WIMDPOD. We just wrapped up a poll to decide which classic Doctor Who story Cassie will watch first, and it was decided that it will be Genesis of the Daleks. Be sure to look forward to that once we finish up this season of the Revive series. Next up, though, we'll turn on the old boob tube and get our faces stolen in the Idiot's Lantern. See you next Tuesday, because your Tuesdays are now Who's Days.